Now we're going to try and get to the bottom of AI. What is it and what is the big news on AI and why has a Chinese chatbot taken over, well, collapsed the AI bubble in America? Let's talk about all this with Michael Simmons. He's data editor at The Spectator and joins us now. Hello to you.
Hello, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, I'm going to have to go seriously Janet and John on this. I need some really basic stuff. There's a big story. It's all over the front pages. We're talking about a huge sums of money wiped off the NASDAQ index because of this. I want to hear from you, first of all. Can we just start basics? What is AI?
So AI is basically a kind of way of making computer software where what the computer is trying to do, it gets better over time by sort of learning from its mistakes. So if you think of, say, like a search engine, you type in what you want to search, there's sort of preconditions and it will come back with hopefully what you're looking for. But what AI does in that case is it says, okay, I didn't get it quite right, or I got it spot on, and then it adjusts and gets better over time.
Right.
And that allows us to now have things such as ChatGPT, where you can essentially have a kind of human conversation with the computer. So AI
and it can write your essay for you at school.
Yeah, it can write your essay at school. Scarily for you and I, it can write news bulletins, it can do research, it can cheat on exams.
Yeah. I have to say, it's my experience of it and what I've seen, it's not as good as people think it is. The AI answers, when I do it on my phone and I'm looking for something on Google, the AI answers, I think, are often risibly bad. But now, the key thing is we've got, you say, ChatGPT, we've got OpenAI. These are huge, big companies. They're American companies, and they use a huge amount of computing power, huge amount of electricity, huge amount of actual real, almost real estate and hardware to actually create this AI ability, don't they? But what's happened in the last 24 hours, this revelation, the Chinese have come up with an AI app called DeepSeek. I do want to know who comes up with these names other than 14-year-old boys. But DeepSeek has been launched. What is the big news on DeepSeek? What is different about it?
So DeepSeek has like a lot of Chinese products and manufacturing is essentially the cheap version of these AI chatbots. And the reason it's wiped off $1 trillion off US stocks yesterday is because, as you say, AI takes all this computing power. It needs these complicated chips that the West had thought that was kind of safe and protected by us because these factories that make these chips are so complicated that there's one in Taiwan, there's some in the US, they're basically nowhere else. And it was thought, oh, the Chinese will never be able to undercut us in this way, in the way they have almost any part of manufacturing. And what's really spooked the markets and spooked people is that this Chinese AI DeepSeek appears on the face of it to perform as well as the Western AIs, ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc. But it's done that without access to these chips, so that's what's really freaked people out.
And they've actually been quite strict, sanctions and inability for China to get hold of these chips. They've been using much simpler chips. I don't understand how computer chips work. So, I'm starting from a very basic level here. And no one thought that this was possible. But it's not just a bit cheaper, is it? You say it's a fraction of the cost. And all of this, many billions has been invested in AI technology so far as the future. And Donald Trump announcing he was going to invest, the government's invest $500 billion into AI. The future, it's the future of, computing, of healthcare, of defence, of everything. And then this company in China goes, we've done it for a fraction of the cost. That has thrown everything into disarray.
Yeah, I mean, it may well come out that this chatbot is not as impressive as it's being claimed, but initially it seems like it is up there. And as you say, so much of basically the future idea of Western industrialism is all about AI. And if it is the case that China can just do it much cheaper without stuff that we think that the West controls, then it's just going to be another chapter in our historic in a trade war where they just undercut us again.
I mean, but a lot of Chinese undercutting in various other areas of tech and the like has actually been by China using cyber spies, basically hacking information from British academia, from American academia and companies, and basically they routinely stealing stuff, stuff that is patented and using that technology. we don't think this has been done that way.
Yeah, no one seems to be suggesting that, but I think it might more be the effect of when we sort of had this chip war a few years ago, when people were worried that this was what was going to happen, and there was various embargoes put on to stop China accessing these chips. It's probably sort of galvanized Chinese industry to work together more in a way than they were doing before, which is probably what's got them to this point, because it must simply be that they've either managed to make these chips or have found a way to, produce this AI software in a less of energy and computationally intense way.
I mean, unless you've got, your pension fund is entirely invested in, whoever owns, ChatGPT or OpenAI or these companies, or all your money's in the NASDAQ index. Does this affect us? Or, I mean, is this a good thing? If it could be cheap, if it done more cheaply, using fewer resources, even less electricity, cheaper chips, isn't that a good thing for us as consumers?
Yeah, you can look at it that way. That as you say, if you're not directly invested in it, it may be like many Chinese things that end up making life cheaper. One kind of sort of funny aside from it is it may have actually helped out the Chancellor Rachel Reeves a bit, because obviously we've been talking for weeks about how the costs of borrowing are so high as a result of her budget. As sort of investors on the markets freaked out about this, they all started buying government bonds, which are traditionally the safest way to invest your money, and that result of that is it's brought the borrowing costs down considerably yesterday. So the weird winner from this story might actually be Rachel from accounts.
The irony. Michael, I must say I hugely appreciate this. Just one final thing, very briefly. It was very, very briefly, about 30 seconds. How is AI going to change my life, my audience's life? What's it going to do?
I'm positive about it. I don't think it's going to take our jobs or anything. I think it's going to make us more efficient. The mundane admin tasks, the things that are repetitive, we're going to be able to get done quicker. And as long as people, are prepared to push themselves and work how to use it, I think it's it's going to get us productive again. It's going to get us growing, and we shouldn't worry about it.
Okay, good to hear. Michael Simmons, data editor of The Spectator, thank you very much. I always say, genuinely, explaining something very complicated, to me, someone who knows nothing about something, that's a real talent. Thank you so much to Michael for that. I feel I understand it all a bit more. I mean, DeepSeek, the name, goodness me. Everyone is up in arms, but it's sort of like, this is the only way to do it. It's cost all these resources. Chinese have gone, I wonder, though, whether it's going to turn out to be as good as they say it is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could well be the turning of a corner that you don't need such large, complicated chips. Not that I know.
One of the biggest issues over China is they're wanting to basically take Taiwan.
Yeah.
They claim it's still part of China.
Yeah.
But Taiwan is where all these chips are made. I'm thinking it's an idea like maybe we shouldn't just have one country making all the chips that we rely on for our future.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Just throwing that out there.
We're way behind, aren't we?
We are way behind on all that. And my experience of AI is that it's
been rubbish.
Bloody useless. So far. I'm sure it'll improve in the future. We shall see. But then these are the same people who want us to live in this sort of meta universe as well. I don't want to. I want to live in real life. I'd quite like kids to read a book and write an article write an essay about it and learn about it, rather than getting a computer to do it. Because I don't think anyone's going to know anything in 20 years' time. They literally won't have to know anything at all. Not sure that's going to be good for the human race, but there we are. Bit of a Luddite on this, aren't I?